y'all, this is Vanessa Love, and this is my channel about the mental health field and related topics. It's a little bit of a dress down day, in case you're kind of wondering. Alright, so I realized what it is that I don't like about people, therapists, and the other communities. What I don't like about therapists who are very much about, like, they just learned a different theory and, like, want to spread that around and, like, make that their whole, like, practice personality. You might have seen shorts where I've talked about, like, just mentioned EMDR or CBT, DBT. There's, like, a lot of different other ones as well. It's not like there's just one. So, like, I realized where it came from. It came from my first job in the field. My first job in the field was over a decade ago. And I stayed there for about 6 months. It's a reason for a lot of different things, like a lot of different opinions that I have, because it was so bad. So I had a greedy boss who kind of didn't care about a lot of different things, including how supported his support staff were. I think one time my check was lost in the mail, and he made me pay a $30, I didn't have much money. He made me pay a $30 fee to get this check reissued. That's bullshit. Like, that was probably my food for the week. Like, are you kidding me? Also, he lived in a very, very nice house, a very, very nice place. But kept all of his everything at the lowest setting, so, like, everything else outside of his house was just like, oh, he rented a space that used to be a radio station. It had no insulation in the walls. Actually, it might have been styrofoam. Children are going into this place for an after-school program, and he has it in an old radio station, and they're like there's an open space and then 3 offices. That's it. 3 closed doors. That's it. And so yeah, that was, yeah, if you can imagine. Oh my god, everything in there was so, like, just, it was not good. It was the lowest quality of lowest quality, because he was trying to save money, and he, like, there might have been some insurance scamming, like, possibly saying that he went to meetings that he didn't. He left the building often. This is such shit. This is what he left the building before clients got there for their sessions, because he just assumed they wouldn't show up. He just assumed they wouldn't show up. Like, this is how weird that guy was. So, and he was, like, voted one of, like, the highest foster care family parents, therapeutic fuss, I don't know. But I'm like, I think they were focused on outcomes and not about, like, the actual person. So, like, problems. So, I mean, that's my theory anyway. I don't know. So I had to be investigated by the FBI to get my internship with veterans, and so I'm just like, I hope that he didn't say anything, but also, God, there's some people. So he had one theory. It's not a very popular theory. I've never heard anyone else use it before, but whenever I talk about it, people come out of the fucking woodworks, because why wouldn't they, of course, and tell me that I need to be educated and I need to be fully trained. And I'm like, listen, this guy was so underhanded about how he was going to train us that he did not send us to an official training. What he had us do is listen to a bootleg copy of a, like, CD of, like, a speech that someone gave about this approach. Okay? You want to talk about having formal fucking training? You go to that guy and tell him that he should formally train all of his staff properly on this particular theory. But I can tell you that he probably didn't use the theory correctly because there was no other option other than that theory. Nothing else we could do. We had to usually sit there and have him go over the same sentence over and over and over again before someone else more experienced would come around and be like, actually, you can do this, which is actually a part of the theory. You can be open to other things because that's the point of the theory. But, oh my God, it's not a great theory. If you want to know, it's the nurtured heart approach. It is, coming from someone who had depression because of food allergies, I will make that very big caveat, because of food allergies. I can tell you that if someone paid attention to me in the way that this theory says to pay attention to people, it would not make me feel good. It would make me feel like shit, and it would make me feel like you are watching me way too fucking closely. So part of the approach is just you just go and simply observe, simply recognize. Now, simple recognition, I'm very much about. I think that that's a really good thing to do. So if you can it's also one of those things where I'm maybe you should put a little bit of opinion in there. So things simply recognize that someone did, the right thing. Yeah, that's great. That's great. That is fine. You can simply recognize. I am so fucking burnt out, even 10 years later, on that fucking phrase. Simply recognize, okay, find the good in the situation and make sure that the person knows that they're doing well. Okay, yeah, sure. But walking up on someone and being oh wow, you're playing with some blocks, especially from kids who might have been from an abusive household, is not the approach, okay? And also, the bootleg CDs that we got for this fucking job, sorry, it's so funny, were for parents. Yes, if parents would pay attention to their kids, in the way that approach is supposed to, simple recognition, or just stating facts, taking a Polaroid, whatever bullshit, and just saying out loud what you see, without any malice, without any shit behind it, could be good. But you're asking me, as someone who's spending 2 hours max with this kid, to undo what their undo what their parents are doing to them. It's so okay, yeah, sure, all right. I mean, the attempts can be made. The other thing was that there were kids in the program. He did not care. And listen, I can technically work with anyone because I've been through the shit facilities. I can work with those who can definitely have a working relationship with me. I never ask anyone to have more than that, especially kids, because if they don't I've tried to work with kids with ODD, which is oppositional defiant disorder. As soon as they don't like you, as soon as they're not getting their way, as soon as one girl saw me and was you're ugly. It should have just been stopped there and just been this isn't gonna work, bye. Find another therapist. I think that parent was looking for a miracle when they probably needed a higher form of care, just honestly. And that was also the type of things that were happening at that place, where there were definitely kids who needed a higher form of care because, honestly, their family life was not going to get much better. I wish I could tell you the full background, but I'm just trust me that it was bad and it was not going to improve ever. There's just things. So, yeah, So we had to work with kids who were very troubled, who only within this theory that didn't work was probably not going to work for them, for a majority of them anyway. Like, sometimes you could get some kids to work with it, but like, it really is about the um, the interaction. It's not about like, it's about the working relationship. It's not about like any theory. And we were not allowed to kind of explore outside of that, except for when another therapist would come in and be like, hey, so you should do this. What's the other one? Yeah, the higher form of care. We had little support other than each other, and like knowing, ethics, laws, all of that stuff. Like, we really did not have anything. We didn't have anything. That boss was not behind us, except for one time when like one of the kids just, I don't remember what it was, but it was something that I did that like, and I mean I was probably like my first week or something, and like whatever it wasn't terrible. It wasn't, it like the kid lost control of himself, which is not great, but like the way that sorry, I would never do this. Like, I would just be like, oh, like, I step it back, like, oh, no, I'm so sorry, like, what happened, what did I do, like, help me understand the situation, like, I would never do what this manager did, owner did. He called the police, which was unnecessary at that moment. Just really unnecessary. All the kids hated me after that, just by the way. There was no working relationship with most of them. So you can imagine this was great for me and my mental health, right? Like, he calls the owner calls the police. It's unnecessary. It really was. And then puts the kid on the phone. The kid hangs up because he's fucking smart, and also don't do that to a kid. And like, then I don't know what was going on in this like owner's brain, but the kid ran out of the office and like went to every window, which is like, I mean, dude, comic gold, man. Like, he really like went for it. I would, again, had I been a little bit more assertive or just like more sure of myself, I would have just been like, owner, you lost you lost everything in this. Like, I mean, I'm not going to be a good employee either after this. Thanks for making my workload so fucking awful. Yeah, so then, like, the cops came, I think. I don't know if anything was actually done. I know the kid came back for a little bit, but I think that there was still issues, so, like, I don't think he stayed long, so I'm, like, good on his family, actually, honestly. Hopefully there was another after-school program he could go to, because, like, this was not it for him. Because of the owner, not because of him, really, honestly. And, like, it's just so, like, awful to have, and that's not the only supervisor that I've had like that, but it is the one that contributes to that. I don't want to only go by evidence-based. I don't want to only go by CBT, DBT, EMDR, all of those things, because, like, what I'm finding is that, like, blissfully, thankfully, I had this shit experience. Because there are so many people who are, especially with CBT. CBT has inserted itself into every fucking thing. And I'm just like, listen, you want to do CBT? Go on Amazon. That's the best that you're gonna get. Because honestly, every fucking therapist who does CBT and, gets the certification has spent like $3,000 or $4,000 on learning this whole technique, and that's because of spending so much money on it, obviously they're going to use it with every client, whether or not it is appropriate to use with you. And if you have trauma and they're not trauma informed, TF, like trauma informed, like CBT therapist, then they might go for that, which is another couple of $1,000, so that they can get to the trauma thoughts that would contribute to your behavior instead of actually talking to you and creating a relationship with you. So you might as well just get a book. DBT also has a book. I think like it's a little bit more complex, but also like most people aren't going to really need DBT most of the time, and like I don't know, I have some feelings about that. I have watched Linehan, I cannot remember her first name, talk before, and she is very much like, my style is the best. You don't know what you're doing. I work with the most acute and chronic, and like that's why I'm so much better. She really did. Like there was a moment in her TED talk that they didn't edit out, that she like looked around as if like she was like, oh fuck, I kind of did make that statement. Like, yeah, you did, and it's not being edited out. So you think that you're better than other therapists. And that is what all of those certifications tend to accidentally do. Make that therapist feel that they're above it if they're using it all the time. I did meet someone one time who was like, oh yeah, I have that certification in like hypnotherapy, which I'm like, damn, I'd go for that. And she was like, oh yeah, I barely use it. And I'm like, oh yeah, I have a certification too. And I stopped, I think, like paying into it because I just don't use it. It's great, but it's also like, I can just have a conversation with my clients. It's not gonna be like as big as I think like a lot of people sometimes like kind of expect like therapy to be like this big like thing where it's like, oh my god, that's what it is. Sometimes it's like little statements that will kind of be like, oh wait, okay, no, yeah, no, I see how that's playing out in my life, you know. But like I think that people really put a lot of like, we're gonna do this and it's gonna be this beautiful thing, and it's not always. The other thing is that, yeah, CBT is so insidious at this point that like doctors are like, oh, did you go to a CBT therapist, an evidence-based therapist? And it's like, what matters the most, and I cannot emphasize this enough, is that like how much you trust your therapist is how much you're going to get out of therapy. That's it. If there's topics that you don't trust your therapist with, you're not going to work on those things. Yeah. So, you know, like something to really think about, because I'm so tired of this evidence-based crap, and it's like, I don't have the certification in CBT, and if you wanted it, it would be 8 weeks. It would be maybe 16 sessions cap, like done. That's it. Like it's only 16 sessions. That's it. That's the research that has happened with CBT. So like all of this other stuff is like, you know, oh well, it shows in 8 weeks, but that is also for someone who is like, you know, just needs the boost, not someone like many of the people who I work with who have an extensive trauma history. That's not who it's for. I don't even know if Trauma Informed is like for that. It probably is like based only on the 8 weeks, you know? Like if anyone wants to correct me on that, you're welcome to. Anything else, fuck off. Yeah, so like, you know, you get these things where it's just like you only can do this like CBT stuff. You can only do, and that's really what all of these places are really encouraging like therapists who work there to do. Only do CBT. And I'm not for it. I'm never going to be for it. Like I think that every person should add their own individual like theory, spin, preferences onto it. It should be also the consideration of what the group needs. It's not about just plain let's fuck people over with just implementing CBT and just doing that. I think that's unfair. So there's that. And just kind of as the reiteration of CBT, CBT is only like you get taught something, if you do the homework for it, then they feel that you have succeeded in that. If you never touch that CBT anything technique again, they don't care because you showed that you could do it the once. I would say, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm like, there's so many different variations on that like I don't know if there's anything that really someone who loves CBT would be all about. There's no like superpower for like doing therapy, really. It's not. Anyone who's telling you that you can definitely be cured by anything is just trying to get your money and probably charging you $1,000 a session. So like, I mean, you can definitely feel like because you put so much money into it that you could actually like do it. But yeah. So yeah, like I just I facility work is also much like that. You are like beholden to, like, some of them are very like toxic environments. The hospital work that I did was very toxic. If a patient did anything outside of, normal human behavior, they will find the nearest worker and be like, it was your fault. Doesn't matter what it was. I know this one guy, like, he went off the rails, and he's probably upset at me for something. I can't remember what it was. Like, probably just being like, hey, could you give me my pencils back? And I was not empowered at this job, so like, it's not like I felt like I could do much more than that. I was not supported. So, like, I mean, the lucky thing is that occasionally I got to talk to my supervisor, but, like, my supervisor and I had terrible communication to the point that one time there were many times that I can point out, but, like, let's use this one, for example. We had a game system. It was going to be used for the kids. I, knowing that many adults really love gaming and would probably love to play, especially like just kind of get their mind away from like their reality of like where they're staying. Absolutely, let's do it. I asked in our whatever lunch meeting, I was like, hey kid, is that a possibility? No. Next day, no talk to me, no pulling me aside and be like, hey, I reconsidered, I just wanted to let you know. No, in the middle of the next like meeting that I was in, they were like, oh yeah, no, we'll do that now. So why did you say no to me yesterday and reconsider? What was someone else saying something that was more like to what you liked? Like, what the hell was that? And I was too shy. I wasn't about to be like, okay. I never said anything that I really had an honest issue with because there was nothing that was going to ever be done about it. So it's like, oh, I don't know if I actually get along or like work well with this population. I work fine with every population. I don't know if I work well with this population because of lack of support. And so like, it would just be like, oh, so maybe we should just like, try and like put another person with you for a while to see if you can do okay. So you want one of my coworkers to consistently, without any training, tell me what I did wrong in my groups, and expect me to feel great about this and that I will do well with someone watching me after I've told you that I don't feel the greatest. Like, a YouTube video would have just worked out really well. Maybe some affirmations. Like, that would have been more of, like, my style, please. I do not need one of my coworkers being like, well, you said hello, but you didn't say how are you, so that's probably where all of the kids don't like you. I'm like, no, all the kids don't like me because all of the other fucking people who work with them all the time are talking shit about me. And one kid one time looked at me directly and said, I think you're boring, which meant that there were other people, my coworkers, talking shit about me and probably saying the same fucking thing. Oh, she's so boring. She doesn't go out with us. Yeah, there's reasons for that. What do you think? So yes, as strong as I became, I became strong by fire. So, that manager, there was no support, there was no understanding, there was just oh my god, like, she was great, but she wasn't great, and that was probably one of the better ones. The other ones were, so incompetent that, I don't know. They're lucky that I came pre-programmed, you know? Like, I fucked up one time about something, it was a boundary issue. Totally get it. Totally could have just been like, hey, I know what your training is, but can you not, bring that here? That would have been totally fine. It wasn't my job. I get it. Kind of stay in your lane. That would have been fine. They gave me, they didn't, I don't think they had anything written about keeping boundaries. This is what I mean. Don't do facility work. They didn't have anything written down about that, ever, so they just, handed me, rule book for, appropriate, clothing wear. It was so, we don't know what to do. Here's some literature. That was totally unrelated. Had they just come to me and been like, hey, just don't do that. Be like, okay, yep, totally got it. It was a little bit shocking that this person said this to me. Totally know it's, your own thing. You're doing your work. It was just a little bit of, are you working on that? No? Fuck. Oh, shit. It was me as support staff against the therapist of the group home, and it was well, yeah, okay, of course, again, pre-programmed, and also had asked a question of are you working on that? No. Oh, so that's probably something you want to work on with the therapist. Sorry. All of it is so dumb because it's so I'm not allowed to I'm not allowed to point out that they can ask their therapist to help them with these things, right? What's my whole channel about? And then also to not also help out with some of the healing that could have been going on for a job that I had. It's so stupid. I had another job where they let me go, and it was I knew it was coming because they got their jollies off on firing people, and the person who was right before me, maybe a week or two before me, was I already know. All of this is busy work for the next person who they're gonna they're already putting someone in my place. I already know it. I'm being fired. She said that to me, and I think a couple days later she was fired. I knew I was getting fired because they kept on trying to say that I was incompetent at my job, but they were incompetent in just the whole facility. And then when they fired me, they brought me out. Sorry, it's so funny. They brought me out and just escorted me to the parking lot. And I wanted to say goodbye to people because I'm not gonna see any of these people again. Luckily Facebook exists and existed back then, and I was able to be hey, it's been really good working with you, but someone who didn't like me, and I didn't know this. She was very reactive. She overheard that I was just fired, and she went right back to near where my office was, and I could almost hear her down the hallway yelling about how I was fired. And actually she was really nice about it too. She was here's some other places, they'll hire you right away. I know that they always need people. She was really sweet about it. She hated me every fucking weekend, but God, had my fucking back, damn. And yeah, the manager there, didn't have much experience. They loved the person who was there before me, and, the shit let me just give you the full tea here. We went to another place to have like a cook-off between the retirement homes. I don't know. It was fucking weird. And they noticed that the higher end retirement home had like a little mural. And so they wanted to have a little mural. And so the person, look, I'm an artist. You pay me well enough, I'll fucking do it, right? Like, I could do a mural. I've done murals. But like, it's one of those hidden talents that I'm like, oh, no. Oh, you wanted me to draw something? Here's a line. It's crooked. You know, because like, I don't want to do shit. When people are watching, I'm like, I do my own creativity. It's not going to be on your time, thanks. But yeah, if someone was like, here, paint like a fake window there with like some, like, what is that called? Flowers on the trellis. Like, I'd be like, yeah, I can do that. Absolutely. That's an easy ass fucking thing to do. But they wanted this bitch, who I replaced, to come back and do this mural. Didn't ask me. Knew who I was. Knew my background. Knew that I had a master's in art therapy. And they were still like, no, you want to go with her. Never asked me. Also, I mean, I would be like, oh, is this before work or after work? When do you plan on having me do this? And then they did, like, some other project I hated. It was shadow boxes for each of the people. And, like, it was so... The reason I hated it wasn't because, like, we had to do any of that. There were people there, like, helping out. It was wonderful. It was beautiful. I absolutely do not mind doing this. It was that, like, two people who were related brought in their scrapbooking stuff. That is very kind of them. That is so nice of them. But they wanted all of her stuff in her bin and her stuff in her bin. We don't fucking know the difference, so we're trying to clean up. And they're like, no, you're putting things in the wrong bin. Honeys, sweeties, darlings. Can you sort this out? Like, can your mom bring home all of these and you can sort them out? Or just accept the loss. These are donated at this point. It doesn't matter. Like, it really does. Like, I'm glad that you're taking them home. I'm glad that you brought them here. But, like, this is not it. And then also just, like, I always hate when people force me into doing artwork. That's not, like, a thing for me to ever respond well to. I don't want to. And, yeah, I think there were some times where they were like, oh, no, just please do this for us. Please, do this for us. And it was like, great. But also, I have all of the work duties that I've had with everything else and, like, the pressures of work and everything. And not being trained. I wasn't trained for a lot of things that I should have been trained for. And, again, that's facility work. You know? Like, does it shock anyone who's ever worked in a facility that I wasn't trained for shit? You know, like, oh, yeah, no, You know, like, I was trained for making sure that I understood that dementia and Alzheimer's is not a part of, like, natural aging. Yeah, that's great. Really glad. But, like, anything else, you know, actual functions of my job, nope. No. There were a couple of people who, like, I went to go pick up one of my coworkers one time, and, like, they were really excited. I felt so bad. They were really excited, like, to see me. They were like, oh my gosh, are you coming back to work? I was like, no, that's a never. It's a no. I, like, lost touch with all those people who worked with me closely at all of the facilities, actually, that I worked with, except for, like, one or two of, like, the places that I worked. Like, there's still, like, a strong community, you know, no matter what. But, like, and, like, it's funny because it's always the people outside of it's always the people outside of, like, my department who liked me. Yeah. So you can know the difference between treatment, you know? Like, can you imagine? Anyway, So yeah, that's like, I realized, and I kind of wanted to share that as like, this is why I'm so adamant about like, this is not appropriate in like for everyone to just be like, oh, but you have to do this, you have to do that, you have to learn this, you have to learn. No, I just have to be a therapist to my clients. I have to be present for the people on the couch. That's all that I have ever been required to do. And honestly, I'm never gonna do this, but like honestly, I could just be like, tell me more about that. I don't, but like technically that would be my job. Again, not gonna do that. I love my clients. I love working. I love my job. I love all of this. Everyone else, your opinions do not matter. Do not matter. Yeah. All right. Well, I hope that was helpful for you, and I'll talk with you soon. All right. Have a good one.